Here.
We have a quorum, meeting is in order. Next on the agenda is roll, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is correspondence. There's none here. Madam Clerk,
No, sir.
any trustees?
No, sir.
Any department heads?
No, sir.
Item 5 on the agenda is announcements. None here. Madam Clerk,
No, sir.
any trustees?
None.
Department heads?
No, sir.
Item 6 on the agenda is approval of the corporate bills prior to the period ending February 21st, 2025. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for approval of the regular corporate bills for a period ending February 21st, 2025, in the amount of $973,697.74.
Is there a second? We have a motion from Smith, a second from Lewis. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Lewis?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Riley Pinkney? Yes. Trustee Jefferson?
Yes.
And Trustee Williams?
Ayes have it, motion passed. Item 7 on the agenda is unfinished business. There's none from the mayor's office. Any trustees with unfinished business?
No, sir.
Item 8 on the agenda is new business. Item 1 under new business is a resolution appointing Mr. Lawrence McMahon to fill the vacancy in the office of trustee for the Village of Riverdale. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? If there's no motion, the item fails for lack of a motion. Item 9, public comments. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, members of the public will have the opportunity to address the board. When you're recognized by the chair, please state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak, once per meeting. Mr. Smith.
Good evening, residents of Riverdale. I wanted to take a moment to address something important that affects all of us. On December 16, 2024, Trustee Eric Levier resigned from his position. While this might seem like a routine, this is important for us as residents to understand that the timing and its impact on our community. According to the Illinois law, specifically 65 ILCS 5/3.1-10-50, if a vacancy occurs in elective office with more than 28 months left in the term, and it happens at least 130 days before an election, voters have the right to elect a replacement. Unfortunately, Trustee Levier's resignation came just short of this 130-day requirement before the February 25th election. This timing meaning that voters will not be able to elect someone to fill this seat. Instead, this position will be filled by appointment. This process limits the opportunity for voters to have a direct say in who represents them, and it shifts the responsibility of filling this role to Mayor Jackson. While this is allowed under the law, it's important to understand that this process affects how leadership in our community is shaped. As residents, we all deserve access to accurate and transparent information about how decisions like this are made and how they impact us. This is not about pointing fingers, but rather about staying informed and engaged so we can work together and ensure that decisions benefit the entire community. This situation is a reminder of how crucial it is for us to remain vigilant and proactive in holding our local government accountable. Our community is strongest when we are all informed and involved in the decisions that shape Riverdale's future. Thank you for taking this time to listen and for your commitment to making Riverdale a better place for everyone. Together we can continue to grow and strengthen our community. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to address the board?
I have a question.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Angela Dennis. Given that the trustee resigned in December, when we voted in February, why weren't the voters advised that he resigned as we were with the third mayoral candidate?
If I may. Thank you.
This is a different process than what happened with the third person running for mayor. That was an objection filed to her candidacy and then ultimately was
I
kept
just
off
asked
the
them why
ballot.
we weren't informed.
I mean, it was informed, it was part of the public record, it was known to be, there was, for instance, before the February meeting, Mr. Levere was no longer here, the ordinances and resolutions no longer included his name, it was known that he was not a
The voters were not
trustee.
advised at the poll.
There was no requirement to advise them.
I'm asking why, not that if it's a requirement, but by ethically, you would think that you would advise the voters that he resigned from the position.
I have no comment on what you think is ethical and what isn't.
Can you answer the question?
I've attempted to answer.
Is there a reason the voters were not advised that he resigned 2 months prior to voting?
You're asking why they weren't informed at the poll? Like why there wasn't some sort of insert or piece of information at the polling place to say that he had resigned?
Correct.
That's not a requirement of any election law. There's
Didn't
no,
ask if it was a requirement.
But
I
that's
just
why.
asked if we were advised.
that's why. There's no requirement to do so, so it wasn't done.
And the credentials for the person that was nominated, where would we get that information, although it failed on today? Because he wasn't on the ballot, we've never heard of him.
I don't know what qualifications you're referring to.
Does he have a resume, does he have a bio? How would we know who he is?
Ms. Dennis,
Although it failed.
I'd be happy to follow up with you with that information. Anyone
I
else?
appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
However, I'm a single person, and there's an entire community that would have the same questions as I would, although they're not as vocal as I am.
Respectfully, ma'am, you made the question, so I'll provide you the information. If you want to disseminate it, that's fine. Anyone else wishes to address the board? Ms. Earhart.
Pamela Earhart, what are the qualifications to apply to become a trustee?
To be a trustee, you need to be a resident of the village of Riverdale.
So anyone can apply for that vacancy at this moment, or is it too late?
There's no formal application process for it. It's an appointment to be made by the village president and then confirmed with the advice and consent of the village board. There's no set qualifications other than what you would need to be any qualified elected official.
So one would just need to get in touch with the village president and say, I'm interested in that seat?
You could any resident can always express interest.
Okay.
Mr. Earhart.
I just need to ask one question. I need to know, was you aware that chief documents came in the park? That's all I need to know, yes or no?
I would prefer to have this conversation behind, after the meeting.
Okay,
If you could stick around, you and your wife,
okay.
and the chief and I and the attorney could talk, okay?
Yes.
Anyone else who wishes to address the board? Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? If there's no one else who wishes to address the board, I entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:11.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Smith and a second from Riley Pinckney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned 7:11 PM. Thank you, everyone.
All right, people, this live on cut, unedited. Riverdale.